All right, today we're going to talk about a company that's trying to do something, well, pretty huge. It's called OnPassive Technologies, and their whole idea is to completely change how we interact with our digital world. Think about it. They want to take all that chaos of separate, clunky apps and create one simple, smart ecosystem. So let's get into it and see what that actually looks like.
So does this sound like your life? You've got one app for your video meetings, right? Then another one for chatting with your team, a totally separate one for sending money, and, oh yeah, a completely different platform to run your online store. It's just this constant juggling act. It feels like our digital lives are supposed to be getting simpler, but somehow they just keep getting more and more complicated. And that's exactly the problem the founder, Ash Mufareh, is trying to solve. You can see it right here in this quote. The vision isn't just to throw more tech at the problem. No, it's about simplifying it all so that anyone, whether you're a tech wizard or, not, can actually use it. It's about making technology work for people, effortlessly. That's really the why behind everything they're doing.
So let's give this a name. We can call it the digital overload problem. It's all that friction, all that cost, all that insecurity that comes from trying to make a bunch of different tools that were never designed to talk to each other somehow work together.
Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the vision for the solution? I mean, what if everything you needed was just in one place? Imagine a single platform where all those digital tools were built from the very beginning to work together seamlessly. That's the big promise from OnPassive we're looking at today.
And this solution actually has a name. It's called the OES, which stands for the OnPassive Ecosystem. I really like this analogy someone used to describe it, a digital city. Think about that for a second. It's not just a random collection of apps. It's a whole interconnected environment where every service is connected, just like in a real city. It really helps you picture what they're aiming for.
So this whole ecosystem is really built on three big ideas. First, how we connect with people. Second, how we handle money. And third, how we create things and do business. Let's take a look at how this new way stacks up against the old, messy way we've been doing things.
Okay, this table breaks it down perfectly. On the left, you've got the old way, the problem we all know. You're juggling video, chat, email, a total headache. The OnPassive way, OConnect and OPal, all your communication in one spot. Then there's finance. The old way is high fees and constantly worrying about fraud. The solution they propose? OWallet and OVerify, meant to be simple and super secure. And for anyone who's tried to build an online store, yeah, those complex platforms are a nightmare. They're positioning OShop as the answer, using AI to get you set up in minutes.
Let's zoom in on OConnect for a second, because the idea here is way more than just another video call app. They're packing it with AI. Imagine being on a call and it's translating the conversation for you in real time, or automatically getting rid of all that background noise, the dog barking, the construction outside, and of course, a huge emphasis on privacy with end-to-end encryption. It's not an afterthought, it's built right in.
And speaking of security, let's be real. We live in an age of constant cyber attacks. It's probably one of the biggest worries we all have online. How can you be sure that your private info, your chats, your money, how do you know it's actually safe? Well, their answer to that massive question is a tool called OVerify. And I think this quote from a cybersecurity consultant really nails it. Its whole job is to check and authenticate everything that happens on the platform in real time. The key here is that it's not some extra thing you have to bolt on. It's woven into the very fabric of every single product, designed to give you that peace of mind he's talking about.
Okay, let's switch gears and talk about actually building something. Have you ever thought about launching a global business online? I mean, it sounds amazing, but then the reality hits. The complexity, the tech, it can feel completely overwhelming, right?
This is where they say AI comes in, to just completely tear down those barriers. With their tool, OShop, they've broken it down into just 3 steps. And the AI isn't just handing you a cookie-cutter template. No, it's acting like your personal design assistant, even helping you with products and pricing. The goal? To get you live and selling in minutes without needing a whole tech team behind you.
And you see that same idea, that simplicity popping up everywhere. Just listen to this quote from an early user talking about OWallet, their finance tool. What's the thing that amazed her? How simple it is. I love this line. You don't need to be a banker to understand it. And that's really the whole point, isn't it? Making powerful technology so intuitive that absolutely anyone can use it.
So when you pull it all together, OConnect, OVerify, OShop, OWallet, it's all pointing to one big idea, putting you back in control.
It's about fundamentally changing our relationship with technology, moving away from that constant frustration and toward a feeling of genuine empowerment.
And that brings us full circle, right back to the founder's mission. This quote says it all, really. It's the why behind this whole massive project. It's not about creating tech just for the sake of tech. It's about using it to level the playing field, to take away that feeling of intimidation so many people get from complicated software.
So let's boil it all down. What's the big OnPassive advantage they're talking about? Well, it really comes down to these 4 things. 1, it's all integrated. Everything just works together. 2, it's AI-powered, meaning it has smart tools that are actually working for you. 3, it's secure. Your data, your money, it's all protected from the ground up. And maybe most importantly, 4, it's user-friendly. It's built for everybody, not just the tech gurus.
Which kind of leaves us with one final big question to chew on. Seriously, what if your technology actually worked as one? What would change for you, in your business and how you connect with people, or just in your everyday life if all those separate pieces finally came together into one seamless, intelligent system? Something to think about.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right in today to tackle that could, huge rumor that's all over the internet, alter life as we know it on Earth. To have this massive Think of them as our new Titans, immensely powerful, and, well, so they're just beginning to stir, right? Comments just like this let's just dive right into this. Community forums, ask yourself that question, because this isn't science fiction anymore. A ton of buzz. We're talking about 2 very real, very powerful emerging fields: artificial intelligence and geoengineering. That is the big question. They promise to solve some of humanity's biggest, thorniest challenges. Confirmed plan from the company, or is it big? But just they also carry planet-sized risks. To really get to the bottom of this, you've got to separate what's the power to create and manipulate intelligence itself. All right, and on the other, let's check the receipts. Geoengineering. We're going to follow the paper trail, the power to literally reshape our planet's and see what the official record actually says. Both represent this isn't about what people think is happening. They offer these about what we can prove. Almost utopian solutions. Okay, so first things first, we have to cut through all the noise online and go straight to the source. Just beneath We're talking about official company documents, really get a handle on what's at stake here. Let's start by looking at the bright side, the real stuff. The incredible potential. We really did our homework here. And we're going to kick things off with all the official revolutionary power that AI is already bringing to the world of regulator databases like the SEC. Decades, developing new drugs has been getting slower and more expensive. That confirms the September 2025 launch. It actually has a name. What did all that digging turn up? Law. Well, and yep, zero. That's Moore's law spelled backwards. As of right now, AI is starting to completely reverse that trend. There isn't a single, sometimes even years, of tedious lab work into just a few hours of record from the company themselves announcing a big launch this month. First, so that begs the question, right? If there was no launch biological data, what was the big official news target for disease? There was something major that happened recently. This is the wild part. Turns out, actually, the biggest official news for the company wasn't molecules from scratch to hit that target. This whole process allowed a startup like U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, to a drug that's final judgment in a case against OnPassive that actually started way back in 2023. Now, to put that number into perspective, came with some serious the traditional way of doing financial penalties and even bars on who can be an officer or director. Billions. Billions with a B. This is a documented, verifiable did it in just a year and a half, and all this really brings us to a super important point. This isn't just a skill you need for any kind of totally different way of discovering medicine. You've got to know how to tell the difference between what's an official fact. This potential stretches way beyond the lab. It's exactly why we're seeing this massive really clear line in the sand across the board. Over here, with companies basically racing to plug AI into everything, like from boosting economic productivity to developing the next generation of national security tools. Unofficial chatter. Fan now let's switch pages to our other two videos from creators, forum discussions. Honestly, both sides are out there for sure. We're talking about a direct intervention to cool the entire planet. And which could give us a crucial lifeline to manage the effects of climate change while we get on with the really hard work of cutting emissions. It shows there's a really passionate group of people involved. So the leading idea here is called solar geoengineering. But the concept is to inject these shiny reflective particles high up into the stratosphere. Essentially, the other is creating a kind of planetary sunshade and reflecting a tiny fraction of sunlight back into space to cool the Earth. Part of this whole thing. In a world that's struggling to meet its climate goals, you can see how this might be a powerful tool to prevent the absolute worst consequences of a warming planet. Really for anything you see online. But, and you knew there was a but coming. Step check. Here's the pivots. Find this immense power to heal and to protect. Where did this comes with an equally immense potential for things to go terribly, horribly wrong. Verify the publisher. With both of these titans, the risks are just as big as the rewards. A verified social media account. Let's start with AI. If you can't trace it back to a verified primary source, then you've got to treat it as what it likely is. Staggering appetite for energy. The scale is just hard to wrap your head around. By 2026, the data centers that power our AI models could be consuming as much electricity as the entire nation of Japan. That is a colossal environmental footprint.
You can see the
And
documented
beyond its power
official
use,
events.
AI
when
presents a
OnPassive was
whole
founded,
minefield
when
of
SEC
societal
filed its
challenges.
complaint, and that
We're
final
already
judgment
seeing
from
malicious
August.
deepfakes
And then
spreading
you see
disinformation,
September
a
2025.
huge flood of copyright
And based on
lawsuits from
all the
artists
evidence
and
we have,
writers.
it's sitting
And there's a
squarely in
growing
what we're
concern
calling the
that this investment
speculation
craze
zone.
is a bubble
It's being driven by
just waiting
community
to
chatter,
pop.
not
Some are
official
even calling
company
it
news.
plain crazy.
So to wrap this all up, here's your
Geoengineering,
takeaway
meanwhile,
checklist.
well, it
Point
has its
1,
own
the
dark
September
history.
2025
Back during the
launch is an
Vietnam War, the
unconfirmed
U.S.
rumor,
military
not
ran
an
something
official
called
plan.
Project
Point 2,
Popeye.
the
They used
only
cloud
major
seeding to try
official
and
news
extend the
recently was
monsoon
the
season over
SEC
enemy
judgment in
supply
August.
routes. It was a
3,
pretty crude attempt to
always,
weaponize
and I mean
the weather,
always check
and it
if your
serves as this
information
really
is coming
stark
from an
warning
official
about how
company
these
source.
powerful
And
environmental
finally,
tools can be
remember that
misused.
stuff you see on fan
The
pages or
risks
in
today
creator
are
videos,
just as profound,
it's opinion,
maybe even
not
more
a press
so.
release.
I mean,
unless
altering
they
the
can point
atmosphere
you to
could
that
have
official
totally
source.
unpredictable impacts
And this
on
all
global
leaves us
weather
with
patterns
one
and
last,
ecosystems.
really
Then there's the
important
moral
question.
hazard. The
It's
fear
a
that if we
question
have
you
a
should ask
planetary
yourself
thermostat,
every single
countries
time
might
you
just
see a
stop
big claim
trying so
online.
hard to cut their
Before
emissions.
you share it,
And maybe the biggest
have
question of
you
all,
checked the
who
source?
gets to control that
Seriously,
thermostat?
just taking that
So
one
all
simple
this brings
step
us to
is
the
the
core
most
dilemma,
powerful
right?
tool you have
We've
to
unleashed
separate
two
fact
technologies
from
that
fiction.
could solve
It's
our
your best
biggest
defense
problems,
against misinformation.
or they could create entirely new crises that might be even worse.
Welcome to
You know,
The
the
Explainer.
central problem
We're
that connects
jumping
both
right in today
AI
to
and
tackle a
geoengineering
huge rumor
is something
that's all over
experts
the
call
internet.
a governance
Is
void.
OnPassive
And put
really
simply,
about to have
it
this
just means the
massive launch in
science and the
September
technology are moving
2025?
at lightning
We're
speed.
going to find out. Will the rules, the regulations, and the
probably seen
international
this,
agreements
right?
we need
Comments
to manage
just like
them
this one
are
popping
lagging
up
way,
everywhere.
way behind?
Community forums,
And
social
look,
media,
regulators are trying
and
to catch up.
man,
We
it's
see efforts
created
like the
a
EU's
ton of
AI
buzz,
Act,
a lot of big discussions happening at the
let's be
UN.
honest,
A
a
whole
reality
lot of
is,
questions.
for every single answer they
And
manage to come up with,
that
the
is the big
technology
question,
itself
isn't
poses
it?
10
Is
new
this launch
questions.
official?
Is
They
this
are
a
playing a
real,
game of catch-up
confirmed
that
plan
right
from the
now
company,
they
or
are
is it,
losing.
just
So what you should
wishful
really
thinking
take
from the
away from
community?
all this is that
To
it's not
really
an
get to the
on
bottom
or
of
off
this, we've
switch.
got to
We
separate
can't
what's
just ban
fact
these
from
things
what's
and hope they
just,
go
well,
away.
chatter.
The real challenge is to find
All
a
right,
path
so
forward,
let's check
to
the
build the
receipts.
guardrails,
We're going to
the
follow the
international
paper trail,
agreements, and
look
the
at the
ethical
primary
frameworks
sources,
that let
and
us
see what the
benefit from
official
all
record
that
actually
incredible
says.
promise while
This isn't
containing
about
the
what people
immense
think is
peril.
happening. It's
And
about
that
what we
leaves
can
us
prove.
with the ultimate question.
Okay, so first
As
things
we
first,
unleash
we have
these
to cut through
world-changing
all the
forces,
noise online and
who
go
is
straight to the
actually
source.
in the driver's
We're talking
seat?
about official
How do
company
we,
documents,
as a global
press
community,
releases,
build
any kind
a
of
steering
regulatory
wheel
filings,
and a set of
the
brakes
real
for
stuff.
these things?
And we really
Because
did
we
our
have to
homework
make
here.
sure that these
We
titans
searched all the
guide us
official
toward that
company
better
channels,
future,
we looked at the press
and not
wires,
right
we
over
even
a
dug
cliff.
through regulator databases like the SEC's. We were looking
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at two technologies that could, and I mean literally, alter life as we know it on Earth. Think of them as our new titans, immensely powerful and, well, they're just beginning to stir. Okay, so let's just dive right into this. I mean, ask yourself that question, because this isn't science fiction anymore. We're talking about two very real, very powerful emerging fields, artificial intelligence and geoengineering. They promise to solve some of humanity's biggest, thorniest challenges. But, and it's a big but, they also carry planet-sized risks. So on one hand, you've got AI, the power to create and manipulate intelligence itself. And on the other, you've got geoengineering, the power to literally reshape our planet's climate. They both represent this fundamental trade-off, right? They offer these incredible, almost utopian solutions, but they're hiding these profound and totally unpredictable dangers just beneath the surface. To really get a handle on what's at stake here, let's start by looking at the bright side. You know, the incredible potential. And we're going to kick things off with the revolutionary power that AI is already bringing to the world of medicine. You see, for decades, developing new drugs has been getting slower and more expensive. It's a problem so well known, it actually has a name, Arum's Law. And yep, that's Moore's Law spelled backwards. But AI is starting to completely reverse that trend, turning months, sometimes even years, of tedious lab work into just a few hours of computation. And it works kind of like this. First, an AI sifts through absolute mountains of biological data to find the perfect target for disease. Then, and this is the wild part, it actually designs brand new molecules from scratch to hit that target. This whole process allowed a startup like InSilico to go from just an idea to a drug that's ready for human trials at a truly record-breaking speed. Now, to put that number into perspective, the traditional way of doing this takes, on average, nearly a decade and costs billions. Billions with a B.
In silico did it in just a year and a half for a tiny fraction of the cost. I mean, this isn't just a small improvement. It is a totally different way of discovering medicine. It's a game changer. And of course, this potential stretches way beyond the lab. It's exactly why we're seeing this massive wave of investment across the board, with companies basically racing to plug AI into everything, from boosting economic productivity to developing the next generation of national security tools. Okay, now let's switch gears to our other titan, geoengineering. Its promise is honestly just as profound. We're talking about a direct intervention to cool the entire planet, which could give us a crucial lifeline to manage the effects of climate change while we get on with the really hard work of cutting emissions. So the leading idea here is called solar geoengineering. The concept is to inject these shiny, reflective particles high up into the stratosphere. Essentially, we'd be creating a kind of planetary sunshade, reflecting a tiny, tiny fraction of sunlight back into space to cool the Earth. In a world that's struggling to meet its climate goals, you can see how this might be a powerful tool to prevent the absolute worst consequences of a warming planet. But, and you knew there was a but coming, here's the pivots. This immense power to heal and to protect comes with an equally immense potential for things to go terribly, horribly wrong. With both of these titans, the risks are just as big as the rewards. Let's start with AI. The first, and maybe most immediate risk, is its absolutely staggering appetite for energy. The scale is just hard to wrap your head around. By 2026, the data centers that power our AI models could be consuming as much electricity as the entire nation of Japan. That is a colossal environmental footprint. And beyond its power use, AI presents a whole minefield of societal challenges. We're already seeing malicious deepfakes spreading disinformation, a huge flood of copyright lawsuits from artists and writers, and there's a growing concern that this investment craze is a bubble just waiting to pop. Some are even calling it plain crazy. Geoengineering, meanwhile, well, it has its own dark history. Back during the Vietnam War, the U.S. military ran something called Project Popeye. They used cloud seeding to try and extend the monsoon season over enemy supply routes. It was a pretty crude attempt to weaponize the weather, and it serves as this really stark warning about how these powerful environmental tools can be misused. The risks today are just as profound, maybe even more so. I mean, altering the atmosphere could have totally unpredictable impacts on global weather patterns and ecosystems. Then there's the moral hazard, the fear that if we have a planetary thermostat, countries might just stop trying so hard to cut their emissions. And maybe the biggest question of all, who gets to control that thermostat? So all this brings us to the core dilemma, right? We've unleashed two technologies that could solve our biggest problems, or they could create entirely new crises that might be even worse. You know, the central problem that connects both AI and geoengineering is something experts call a governance void. And put simply, it just means the science and the technology are moving at lightning speed, while the rules, the regulations, and the international agreements we need to manage them are lagging way, way behind. And look, regulators are trying to catch up. We see efforts like the EU's AI Act and big discussions happening at the UN. But the reality is, for every single answer they manage to come up with, the technology itself poses 10 new questions. They are playing a game of catch-up that, right now, they are losing. So what you should really take away from all this is that it's not an on or off switch. We can't just ban these things and hope they go away. The real challenge is to find a path forward, to build the guardrails, the international agreements, and the ethical frameworks that let us benefit from all that incredible promise while containing the immense peril. And that leaves us with the ultimate question. As we unleash these world-changing forces, who is actually in the driver's seat? How do we, as a global community, build a steering wheel and a set of brakes for these things? Because we have to make sure that these titans guide us toward that better future, and not right over a cliff.
All right, let's talk about OnPassive. They just dropped some massive news for June 2025. But what does it actually mean for you, for the users, for the platform? Well, we're going to break it all down.
And you know it's big when the CEO, Ash Mufareh, kicks things off with a statement like this. He's basically saying, hey, this isn't just another update. We're talking about a massive shift in how everything works.
So that really is the million-dollar question, right? You hear all the buzzwords, but what's really new? What's under the hood? That's exactly what we're here to figure out. We're going to look at the new ecosystem, the tech that's driving it, and yeah, we're definitely talking about how it all impacts commissions.
Okay, so first things first, let's zoom out and look at the big picture.
OnPassive is framing this as a huge turning point. They're saying they're officially moving out of that long build-up phase and into what they're calling bold global execution.
And here's the key thing to get. This isn't just about a few new features. Nope. They're positioning this as a full-blown global movement. And what's the engine behind it all? Artificial intelligence. AI is what's going to automate and scale everything, literally across the world.
All right, so a global movement sounds great, but what does that actually look like when you log in? Let's dive into the new OnPassive ecosystem, or OES. It's apparently been redesigned with two big ideas in mind, keeping things simple and making them automated.
So you're probably asking, what is the OES? Think of it like the command center for everything OnPassive. It's this one central hub where all their software and tools live together. And what's really important is that they all talk to each other now. The whole goal of this redesign was to get people more engaged and have everything just run itself through automation.
And if you want specifics, we've got them. OConnect, for example, is getting some big upgrades to its live streaming and moderation tools. Then you've got OWallet, which now has dynamic commission tracking. And for the business side of things, OTracker and ODesk are getting real-time feedback and analytics. So yeah, this is a pretty serious overhaul across the entire suite.
Okay, now let's get to the topic I know everyone's been waiting for, commissions. How does the money work now? Well, the entire new model is driven by AI, and the philosophy is all about rewarding real, tangible impact, not just, being there. So how in the world does the AI figure all this out? Well, the secret sauce is this technology they're calling OnPassive tables. And let me tell you, these are not your grandma's Excel spreadsheets. These are fully autonomous AI systems that connect every single thing a user does to performance data, insights, and can even predict what they'll do next. Pretty wild.
So let's break that down. What are these AI tables actually doing? Well, they're looking at how you use the products to pinpoint who the most engaged users are. For commissions, they're analyzing things like referrals and retention to make sure the distribution is actually fair. And they even dig into your history of interacting with clients to try and predict future actions. It's a lot. The CEO's own analogy for this is actually perfect. He said it's like having a living, breathing spreadsheet that doesn't just store your information, it actually knows your business and gives you advice on what to do next. That just shows you how deep they're trying to make this tech go. So, the commission structure itself, it's now split into 3 clear layers. First, there's a bonus just for founders. Then you have your standard reseller commission. And finally, there's this global pool sharing piece, where a portion of the earnings gets distributed based on how well the entire company is doing.
And to go with that new structure, guess what? You're getting paid more often. The new payment schedule is 3 times a month, all through OWallet. You'll see payments coming in on the 5th, the 15th, and the 25th.
All right, let's shift gears and talk about something really big for the original affiliates, the founders. If you're a founder, listen up, because you're getting exclusive access to some brand new AI-based dashboards.
And when I say exclusive, I mean it. The difference between what a founder sees and what other users see is, well, it's night and day. Regular users get the standard dashboard, which is fine. But founders? They unlock these special AI tools where they can see lifetime earnings, deep dive into team performance metrics, and even get projections of future earnings. It's a whole other level. So let's dig into what's inside these special founder tables. You can view your entire earning history from day one. You can access detailed analytics on how your team is performing. You unlock special leadership perks. But here's the real kicker. You can actually simulate future earning projections based on what's happening globally. That's a true game changer. So after an update this massive, you have to wonder, what's next? Where do they go from here? Well, the company is already dropping hints, and the CEO's message is pretty simple. Expect surprises. And look, this wasn't just some quiet little update they pushed out. This was a massive, coordinated effort from their global community. Just look at this number. Over 20 regional webinars were held in the first 2 weeks of June alone. That shows you the kind of push they put behind this launch to get everyone up to speed. And it was really cool to see. During those webinars, you had founders from all over the world. Kenya, India, the UAE, the US, all sharing their stories and testimonials. It really drives home just how global this thing has become. Okay, and here's a little teaser for the future, a bit of a rumor mill thing. There's all this speculation buzzing around about a potential rebrand to something called OnFusion. Now, the CEO hasn't confirmed anything, but he did drop this cryptic hint that what they're building is, quote, bigger than one brand.
So definitely something to keep on your radar.
And that brings us to the final thought, and it's a big one, again from the CEO. He says, we're not launching products, we're launching lifestyles. It's this incredibly ambitious vision, right? To shift how we use the internet from just passive consumption to something that creates an active impact. And after seeing all these June updates, it's pretty clear they believe this is only just the beginning.